I work as a taxi driver. I'm divorced with no kids. I split from my ex-wife, Catherine, 20 years ago. I graduated from college and landed a corporate job. Every day I was busy expanding the customer base as a salesman. One day, during a company party, I hit it off with a woman named Catherine, who was seated next to me. I confessed my feelings. We dated for about a year and then got married. We didn't have kids, but we were a happy couple. 3 years into our marriage, there was an economic downturn everywhere. Every day, news about companies laying off their employees was all over the media. I always felt my company was immune to it, like it was someone else's problem. Then, out of the blue, my boss called me into his office and suggested I take an early retirement. You're aware our company's performance isn't great, so we've decided to reduce staff. There's a bonus for those who opt for early retirement. You're still young. You should be able to find another job. Think it over. That's all I have to say. With that, my boss left the room. I was in disbelief and couldn't come to terms with it. Why me? I was in shock and couldn't think straight. It was a layoff disguised as early retirement. Our company is small scale, and the severance package was almost negligible. When I told my wife, Catherine, she seemed shocked and worried. Wait, what? It had been our agreement that Catherine would be a stay-at-home wife after we got married. But now, the one who had asked her to stay at home had to ask her to work. It was an unexpected turn of events, and I grew more frustrated by the day. From then on, Catherine and I started arguing about money and jobs. Our once peaceful marriage became rocky. Eventually, Catherine left a divorce note and moved out. It felt like the layoff had ruined my life. Afterwards, I was so devastated that I spent my days in a state of despair in our now empty house. But I couldn't continue living that way forever. Despite my efforts to find a new job, nothing was working out. I kept getting rejected even at the initial application stage. During one job fair, a senior employee from my current company approached me. Somehow, I ended up as a taxi driver, which was fine, but maybe because I started just for a living, I wasn't putting my heart into it at first. I faced many complaints during my early days due to my attitude, but an encounter with a young girl changed my perspective. Thanks to that experience, I can now take pride in doing my job with dedication. Phew, how many rejections have I had so far? While in the cab, I let out a long sigh. It's been 3 months since I started job hunting. I've been rejected by over 30 companies. When rejection keeps piling up, it feels like society is telling you, "We don't need you," and it's really weighing on me. Miss, is everything okay? Did something happen? No, actually, I poured out my frustrations to the taxi driver. Despite studying hard, I failed my university entrance exam and ended up in my second choice. The economic downturn makes job hunting tough. My parents got divorced, and it's hard to reach out to either of them. It seems like I'm always failing at something. I choked back tears as I wrapped up my story. Well, I've been there. I was laid off from my job, and things didn't work out with my wife, leading to our divorce. Finding a new job was a real challenge. Even when I got this taxi job, I wasn't passionate about it at first. I was taken by surprise when the taxi driver suddenly began speaking to me. "You're about the age she would be now. She must be too. Excuse me, do you have a daughter?" "No, but a long time ago, I helped a little girl. It was a pitch-dark night." The driver began to reminisce. He was waiting for passengers near the rotary in front of a train station when a small girl approached him. "Please, can you take me to the vet?" Perhaps because of the rain that had just stopped, she was soaking wet. She held a limp kitten in her arms. The girl handed the driver a $5 bill she had been clutching and pleaded. "Please hurry. This is all the money I have. Go quickly." The driver realized something was wrong and immediately drove her to the nearby animal hospital, where the kitten received treatment. I hope the kitty's okay. Later, the girl's parents arrived and he learned the full story. Apparently, she had found the kitten and wanted to keep it, but her parents didn't allow it. So, she had secretly been taking care of it in a park. She had gone to check on the kitten during the heavy rain earlier and found it collapsed. Oh no, kitty, are you okay? According to the vet, the kitten was just malnourished and would be fine with proper feeding. The kitty will be okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Taxi Driver. I couldn't have gone to the vet on my own. The girl's eyes sparkled as she spoke. By the way, I'm sorry. My dad told me $5 isn't enough for a cab ride. I shouldn't have troubled you. It's okay. The important thing is the kitten's safe. You're going to keep it at home, right? I can't. I live in an apartment. They don't allow cats. I need to find it a home. Oh, so the kitty doesn't have a place to stay either. It was then that the driver had an idea. Why not become the kitten's owner himself? He thought he could manage to care for a homeless cat, even if he couldn't support his wife. That incident changed the way I view my job. That girl made me realize that my job is to help people. My attitude towards work changed because of her. I owe her a lot. The taxi driver spoke with deep emotion. Wait a minute. This story. I had been listening intently to the driver's story, my heart racing. Your cat is a tabby with droopy eyes, right? How did you know? Of course he'd be surprised. That makes sense. He hadn't described the cat to me. There was no way a stranger like me would know the specifics about his cat. Well, when I found the kitten, it was about 3 months old. I took care of it in the park for about a week. You're that little girl from back then. Yes, that's right. I nodded in response to the driver's words. It turned out that the drenched girl in the taxi driver's story was me. Well, that's quite the surprise. I was surprised too. Who would have thought? I discreetly peeked at the driver's face from over his shoulder. I'm glad to hear your cat is so well. He's been healthy and cuddles with me every day. I named him Whiskers, even though he's a tabby. He has some calico patterns on him, but it's amazing to think such a little girl has grown into such a remarkable young lady. Oh, I'm not that remarkable. Then he handed me his business card. Here's my phone number and my email and Facebook ID. I don't think you'd have anything to chat with an old guy like me about, but if you're ever feeling down, give me a shout. I won't push for a meetup or anything, okay? His words almost brought tears to my eyes. It had been a long time since someone had spoken to me with such warmth. Touched, I began to tear up. Thank you. What happened? Why the tears? Did I say something wrong? No, I'm just grateful for your words. I see. You've had it tough, huh? The driver gently patted my back. I sniffled, crying even louder. It's okay. Reach out if things get tough again. Yes. Thank you. Holding onto his business card, I parted ways with the driver. Although I felt a bit lonely, my heart was somehow warm. Not long after, the driver sent me a picture of Whiskers. When I first found him, he was tiny enough to fit in my palm, but now, he's a big cat, weighing over 22 pounds. Even on bad days, looking at plump Whiskers photos always cheered me up. However, my job search continued to be challenging. But, for some reason, I didn't get as down as before. There are times when your hard work isn't recognized. But if you give up just because of that, it's over. I continued my job hunt with determination and also worked on my thesis. Whenever I felt disheartened, I'd message the driver on Facebook. And he'd always reply with a picture of Whiskers, cheering me on with a keep it up. But then, something happened that threw me off. Hello, Michelle. How about moving in with me? Why such a sudden proposal? It was a call from my mom. My dad was paying for my college tuition, and I was covering my living expenses with a part-time job and scholarships. So I thought I'd be financially stable until graduation. You remember who raised you, right? I do, but I'm lost. Can you explain what's going on? As I said that, she went on to say she's struggling financially and wants me to drop out and start working immediately. Hold on, what about Dad, who's been covering my tuition? If I drop out now, it'd be a waste of all that money, wouldn't it? But I'm out of money. I need you to help me out. I'm sorry, I have to hang up now. Wait. Unable to bear my mom's words, I quickly hung up. She called back immediately, but I ignored it. From that day, I received numerous messages and missed calls from her. But I didn't even have the strength to go through them. At that moment, a message arrived in my inbox. Oh, looking at the attached photo, I was taken aback. It was a picture of Whiskers. Been a while since we talked. Everything okay? Seeing the driver's message, tears welled up in my eyes. I immediately called him to talk about my mom. I'm sorry. I know it's your lunch break. No, I'm sorry for sending you a message during such a hard time. But you should probably keep your distance from your mom for a while. It's not right for a parent to tell their college-aged daughter to support herself. Hearing the driver's words, I quietly nodded. I decided to cut off contact with my mom until my life settled down. I explained the situation to my dad and asked him to be clear with her if she inquired about me. If anything happens, just let me know. I think I can help talk to your mom. Thank you. From that day, I stopped communicating with my mom. After distancing myself from her, I could finally focus on my own life. My younger brother told me she kept calling him persistently, but he firmly declined her calls. After that, she stopped reaching out. I then met up with the driver and finally got to see the real Whiskers. Whiskers, upon hearing my call, it meowed and came closer to me. He's so adorable. Thinking of those times always brings a smile to my face. During those challenging job hunting days, a dream sprouted within me. I shared it with the driver. I've found what I want to do. Oh, that's great. What is it? I began juggling a part-time job and attending a driving school to achieve a certain qualification. Finally, after a few years, I realized my dream. Welcome. You might be the first female taxi driver in our company. I successfully passed the driving test and geography exam and got a job at the same taxi company where the driver worked. I'm looking forward to working with you. I got you. I shook Ken's hand. He gently patted my head. I have another dream. Once I get used to the job, I plan to confess my feelings to the driver. I hope, someday, the three of us, including Whiskers, can live together. With that thought, I smiled to myself.